Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, like many of you, I ran to become a lawmaker to make Texas a better place to live, make laws in a state of 30 million people, to make Texas a better place for Texas families. And like many of you, I heard my community members, Texans in my neighborhood, saying, we need you to address issues that are important to us, like gun violence, healthcare, education, property taxes. After all, here, we are the capital of mass shootings in America. We're the #1 uninsured in the U.S., and we severely underfund our public schools. But instead, once again, we are wasting valuable time and resources on whatever boogeyman hate creates today. Whatever boogeyman hate creates today, that's what we're tackling. Not gun violence, not education, and not health care, but instead a fictional boogeyman. I'm sure many of you are unaware, and frankly probably don't care, that today is International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia, and Biphobia. This is a day to reflect on the many challenges that the LGBT community face in our societies and fight to address the prejudice, discrimination, and violence that this community faces. Hate and violence that this community faces from legislation like this. Instead of working to create societies that are more tolerant and accepting, we are putting forward more senseless legislation that targets trans people in particular and discriminates against communities at large. This bill, once again, is another hateful and fear-mongering bill to distract Texas voters from the real issues not being addressed this session. And it encourages discrimination and exclusion against transgender Texans. This is a violation of the rights of a very small minority of college athletes from being able to pursue their passions and develop their physical skills. All individuals should have equal access to participate in sports, regardless of their gender identity, period. Being trans individuals from sports continues to create a state of stigmatization and a hostile environment for this community. Again, we are telling trans people that they don't belong in our state, in our public spaces, in our sports. We are sending the message that discrimination based on gender identity is acceptable, and it is not. We are causing this population to feel isolated, have low self-esteem, and increased mental health issues. If we say that we are committed to mental health to address the increasing rates of violence in our community, why are we neglecting the needs of the LGBT community? Those who seek higher rates of depression, anxiety, homelessness, and suicide than any other population in our society. Members, the numbers speak for themselves. 61% of transgender youth are battling symptoms of depression. 40% of transgender adults report having attempted suicide, the majority of having done so before the age of 25. 39% of transgender adults surveyed by the Human Rights Campaign say they are currently experiencing serious psychological distress. And yet, instead of helping them, we try to advance more and more bills on discrimination. All the while, our children and our families continue to be slaughtered in our communities. We're wasting time and valuable resources on discriminatory bills that do nothing to make Texas a better place, but instead put our families in harmful environments. I ask you to vote against this bill, and I ask Texans to say, stop this nonsense. Let's focus on things that help Texas families, not break us apart and divide each other and divide our families. I ask you to support me in voting against this bill.